Well, Jane, thank you first of all coming to North Texas. Looking at this film, I was actually talking about Jeffrey about the IRES program, which I thought was something interesting. You yourself have kind of a yoga background. One of your films that you've done is yoga based. Can you talk about helping people through yoga? I know it's kind of a weird thing to start with, but I'm just curious from your experience with that, how has that impacted how you look at that type of organization that helps people with just yoga, helping people relax?
Well, you've done your research.
A little bit, yeah.
I started doing yoga, must be, I don't know, almost 20 years ago now. And I've seen yoga transform lives. I mean, yoga is something that you can do until you're 120 years old. It's something that, you move. People that do yoga say you're as old as your spine, which means that, you need some flexibility in your spine to get through, all of your years. And I think that yoga is a mind, body, spirit modality. So it works on the whole person. You can't do yoga and not feel more calm, not feel more open, not feel, I think, more loving. And I really do feel like if everyone in the world did yoga every day, there would be no wars. I really do believe that yoga is transformative, and it's a great way to heal almost anything. Back pain, any joint and bone issues, even migraines, and a lot of people have accidents and have neck issues. Yoga can really help with that too.
I'm curious. Helping people seems to be something you've always done in your career. What has motivated you to do these awareness-style films, or these films that have a cause, have a reach after the viewing of it? What's inspired you, I guess?
Well, my parents were really loving people, and I think they just taught us that, do unto others as you would have them do to you. And I've always believed that connecting with people is the most important thing. And if you connect with people, you can change their lives. And I believe in media that connects to people, connects to their hearts. Very early on, I think 7th and 8th grade, I wanted to join the Peace Corps. My parents talked me out of it. But when I got into film, I really felt like most of my family members are in the healing medical world, nurses, therapists, and teachers, and I just felt like I wasn't giving back enough. And a neighbor actually said to me, everyone needs to be entertained. Everybody needs to feel good. And so I wanted to go further with that. I didn't want to just entertain. I really feel like there's a power in media. If we can reach millions of people with a message, we can change the world. And Sold has been something that's transformed my life. It's changed the way I do everything. I have a nonprofit in Seattle now. I'm the co-founder of Stolen Youth that 12 of us started in Seattle. So it's, human trafficking is in our own backyard. But as far as filmmaking goes, I know that from now on, everything that I do has to have a cause base. Everything that I do, I believe, should have impact in the world. We only have so many hours, minutes, years on this planet. I want them to count. Well,
looking at this project and going and visiting, the girls and seeing how their lives were impacted, what was it like when you found the young girl and you found someone that could capture that, but obviously, luckily had gone through that? So I'm curious, was it amazing to find, for a dramatic piece, to find someone that brings so much of the reality to the movie?
It was. She's amazing. I mean, the film is on her the whole time. She worked every day of the shoot. We spent about 2 years researching and traveling around and meeting survivors so that we would get this right. We wanted to make sure that, it's not, and we had to keep reminding each other, this is not a documentary. We're making a narrative film, but we really wanted to know what this was like through the eyes of the survivors. So we met hundreds, saw thousands of survivors, and talked to a lot of them, heard their stories, and we knew it had to be somebody pretty special, that you could see everything she was going through in her eyes. And so when Niyar came in for the audition, we saw her on tape first because she was in India, and our casting director went around to schools, and she was part of a theater program in Assam. So our casting director looked all over India and Nepal for the right girl. And she's playing a Nepali girl, so we actually auditioned a lot of Nepali girls, but she just knew it and had it. She knew why she was doing this film. She knew it was an issue that she wanted to do something about too. She had read the book. Her parents had read the book. They understood what this was about, and she really embodied it and brought everything to it. And her eyes are so amazing. You do see everything in her eyes. You're just riveted when you see her on screen.
I'm curious, looking at the book and the impact of the book. It's been translated with over 30 languages. Is there hope that the film will catch fire like the book? And sadly, it's a terrible issue, but it does need to be put out to many different languages, many different people. A lot of the girls don't speak English. They don't speak the main languages that the organizations may speak. Can you talk a bit about getting the reach out?
Yeah, we actually made a narrative film on purpose, and not a documentary film, because we wanted millions of people to see this film globally. So our plan is to have a global outreach and not just release the film day and date, get it out in a few cities, and it's gone. We're releasing it slowly, starting theatrically, and then we'll do a theatrical on-demand type screening with Tug, and then we'll, do the rest of the ancillary, markets. We have a very strong outreach plan. We have a strategy to bring in all the NGOs that are involved in human trafficking. We showed the film to 22 nonprofits in Washington, D.C. last February because we wanted to see how they would feel about it. Talk about nervous, they see a lot of trafficking films. So we sat in a boardroom with these 20 representatives from 22 nonprofits and showed them the film, and they really felt like we do have a tool for change, something that can be seen globally, where people will understand the issue and want to do something about it. So as the film is released, city by city, we'll have a mobilization crew in those cities to get people to the theater, to start conversations about trafficking, to have town hall meetings, to bring people in so that when the film is not showing there anymore, there's still change happening.
I'm curious, looking at, you guys were able to go to a couple of festivals in London. You have, obviously, Emma jumped on board. Can you talk about having someone, she's been attached to this issue for a very long time, and yet she put her name behind this film. Can you talk about having people like that step up and yourself producing? I mean, this is a bigger project maybe than just a dramatic film.
It is, and we knew we needed some game changers. We still do. As we release the film, we're hoping that Emma will do Ellen and that Oprah will get involved. We have a big wish list. And we're looking at it as a building process, like we did with making the film, where we started out, it was just the book, Jeffrey, and me, and then we started building from there. We had a great writer, Joe Kwong, do the first script. Jeffrey jumped in and kept writing from there. And then we met Helen Bamber from the Helen Bamber Foundation, who's just recently passed.
Yeah, this past year.
Yeah, she was in New York with something called The Journey, which was a train car art exhibit where you walk through and you get a sense of what it's like to be trafficked. And Emma Thompson was the president. At that time, I think she was the chairwoman of the Helen Bamber Foundation. We got the script to Helen. She got it to Emma. And we didn't hear anything for a long time. And then a friend of ours who's in the film, Nirja Nayak, who is one of our associate producers too, was amazing. She was in London. We asked her to print out a hard copy and get it to Helen. She walked it over to the Helen Bamber Foundation, and Jeffrey and I were in India scouting. About 3 months later, we got an email from Emma. And I'm just getting chills talking about it. The email said, "Darlings, I love the script. You're bringing, light to a subject that really needs help right now, and I will do anything I can to help you get this film made." And we just cried.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Looking at, I was talking to Jeffrey about the aesthetic of the film, because it's obviously tough material, but to be able to show it in such a beautiful way. I know you guys were inspired by Life magazine photography. Can you talk about not just making a dark film, but making an uplifting film?
That was so important because we had seen a lot of documentaries about trafficking. You know, we knew that this was a heavy issue, but we wanted people to come to the theater and see this film. People need to be able to see the film in order to understand what's going on with this issue in the world. So we knew that we had to pepper it with great music, great cast, the relationships between the kids. We had seen Born into Brothels years ago. I think it's 11th anniversary this year, Born into Brothels. And we're so touched by the community and the kids and the children being children in a brothel. And we wanted to bring that into the film where, you know, children are playing. Children are children anywhere. You know, they are who they are, and this is their life. They don't know any different. And so we wanted people to see the relationships in the brothel, that this is a community, not just a place where women are kept and men go to have sex. This is their life. You know, they live there. And the music was so important to this film.
Was he from Born into Brothels, the music supervisor?
No, the music supervisor, Sammy Chan.
Okay, yeah.
He's a DJ and he creates his own music. He does a big party at IFLA every year. And we love Sammy. He's just been amazing. He donated a lot of his music to the film and was really helpful. But we had, you know, Jeffrey listened to a lot of music while he was writing. And so a lot of that music made it into the film. Sammy helped connect us to 6 Degrees Records and some other people that brought in some music. And we met Salim and Suleiman Merchant in India, and they did 2 songs for the film. And they've been really supportive. So the Namaste song we're planning to remix as a dance song so that when we release the film, we can release the song ahead of it and, you know, get some promotion that way, especially in India.
Wow. I'm curious, there's a bunch of organizations that you guys are part of, Stolen Youth for one. Can you give us a little bit of information about those organizations and how people can help out?
Sure. We are partnering with a couple of different organizations for the global campaign ECPAT, ECPAT. They do a lot of great work, especially changing laws globally. We have Child Reach International as a partner, and they started the Taught Not Trafficked campaign. We started talking to them 4 years ago, and they said, we want to do something about trafficking. We'd love to be a part of Sold. And we just started the conversation then, not knowing where it would go. And they just jumped in, and we talked on the phone every couple of months for a few years. And they came up with this Taught Not Trafficked campaign, and because the Child Reach International country director of Nepal, Sharing Lama, has been a friend and, you know, colleague for a long time. They're doing great work with children, and he found that in their research in Nepal, if children stay in school until they're 16, they're 80% less likely to be trafficked.
Wow.
So he came up with an idea, let's talk to the villages, talk to the parents about keeping the kids in school, have school lunches, have a medical facility at the school so that the families can actually come and get medical attention. Because a lot of these villages, there are 5 or 6 villages, and they all walk to one school that might be an hour and a half from home. The kids usually eat their lunch on the way to school because they're hungry. You know, by the time they get there, they don't have a lunch. So feeding them lunch at school is important, making sure that the family is cared for, and they're thinking about giving the families rice and dal as well. Part of the, you know, trafficking is economics, and they want the kids to stay home and do chores and not go to school. And if kids are not in school, they're much more likely to get trafficked.
Well, sorry.
And I was just going to say, Stolen Youth came about because we were in India and Nepal and invited some of our investors to come over and meet the NGOs that we were talking to and to meet some of the survivors so they would really get what we were doing and the importance of what we were doing. And when we went back to Seattle, we all thought about, does the issue happen here? We were really curious about what it looks like in the U.S. Did a lot of research. We went to Youth Care, which is an organization in Seattle that deals with at-risk youth and helps homeless teenagers with meals and beds. And they have 3 shelters. One is for underage survivors that have survived prostitution, are now out of the life, because they need a place between leaving, their pimp or wherever they are, and rehabilitating and getting back into school, life, job. And youth care was really good at it. So we asked them about the issue, and they really helped us put together a coalition of 4 different organizations that are changing laws, providing wraparound services for survivors, educating businesses about trafficking, and therapy, and rehabilitation, and vocational training, which is really important.
Mm-hmm.
There's a barista program that Starbucks started with youth care that's been so successful. Starbucks is now spreading that throughout the United States. It's, I think, now called retail training, but it was called the barista program, and it was 98% successfwe for keeping survivors off the street. Once they went through that training, they could get a job not just at a coffee shop, but any retail outlet. And we didn't create that. That was something that youth care created, but we decided to support youth care, OPS, BEST, and CCYJ.